Okay. Well, we should be live. Hopefully, a few people are just coming in. We'll just wait another minute.
Very good.
So we're going to start, about 7 o'clock. We'll just give another minute for people to come in. And then we're going to start the talk, which should be about 30 minutes. So not too long. Yeah, so we'll talk about it in a minute, but the title of the talk is going to be Life, Can It Be Something More Than Daily Existence? Yeah, I think we're about ready.
Good. Let's start then.
Yeah, let's get started then. So, yeah, good evening, everyone. So my name's Simon, and I've been studying logosophy for several years now. And tonight we're going to hear from Mike, who is a long-time student of logosophy. And Mike is a senior treasurer who works in the financial industry. And we're going to talk about a topic tonight that I think bothers everyone, at least from time to time. So it's life. Can it be more than just living to exist, more than just daily existence? And if there is more to it, what is that? And of course, each person has to grapple with that question in their own way. And there are, of course, a number of different ideas, opinions, beliefs that people have had about this. But in tonight's talk, Mike is going to talk about some of the ways he's been approaching this question through logosophy and how it's helped him to more fully deal with this question in both a practical and quite a different way. So first, just a brief introduction to logosophy for those who've not heard of it before. It was created by Argentine humanist Carlos Bernardo González Picoche in 1930. But perhaps we should start with a couple of things that it's not. So it's not like a new religion or a form of psychotherapy or self-help. It does deal with questions about inner self, like who we are, and these have traditionally been a concern of these areas. But in logosophy, the key aspect is that anything we learn in this discipline needs to be applied to our own life, tested and understood within ourselves through a process of inner investigation. And this is why logosophy is called a science. So although it started in Argentina, today it has many cultural centers throughout the world where students gather to deepen their understanding of this study and participate in study activities. And this collective study is an important part of the process. And it's also the main reason why logosophy is also described as a culture. It's often said that no human being is an island, and this is true in logosophy also. Everyone helps each other to develop their understanding. And as an institution, logosophy is entirely non-profit, has no religious or political goals. And in Europe, the main study center is based in Barcelona, in Spain. Yeah, there. So the creator of logosophy, González Picoche, wrote an extensive collection of books which outline the fundamental aspects of this approach, and they're available online at no charge for anyone who wishes to explore them. And we'll provide a link about that at the end of this talk. And logosophy also possesses a unique pedagogy linked to it. In Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, there are logosophical schools where many generations of students have benefited from this teaching method. So we could easily spend the next hour talking about logosophy, but a far better use of our time right now will be to hear from a student and how they've made use of it. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Mike. Mike, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Good evening, everybody. Life. Can it be something more than daily existence? Can life be more than what it is? What is life? I would like to start this talk with a few questions. Who has ever wondered what life is all about? Is life just having a good time, or is it just about work, for example, towards professional aims and achievements? My talk aims to share some experiences and reflections on these questions, on how the logosophical science has given me elements to answer at least some of these questions. And it is natural that when we start from our own experience, more questions than answers may arise. Since my childhood, I have been asking myself this question: life. What is life? This question has always been latent in my mind. And the answer? Sometimes I answered without words, thinking that I was answering it somehow in my innermost self, when in reality I was not saying anything. Sometimes I didn't even utter the few words of the question. I just felt something in my gut, an intuition that told me that life I observed could not be summed up in a routine that, as a child, was to wake up in the morning, have breakfast, go to school, to stay all day there, to come home in the late afternoon, do homework, play with friends, then have dinner with my parents, and do something else before going to bed. It was a feeling that life should be something more, that there should be a broader meaning to it, that there should be another connection of me with life, but without knowing what and where to look for the answer. As there were many distractions, this feeling was quickly forgotten to come back at another time in my life, mainly when there was some adversity, for example, seeing my dad very ill. As I got older, other needs arose. After school and university, I started working and, as people say, to live one's own life. There is an expression, learning the ropes, that is, learning as I kept moving forward in life. It was not clear to me that I was going into school for which there is no acceptance test to see whether you get in or not. We all get in sooner or later, and you sit at some point in the front row in this school, the greatest of them all, which is the school of life. I was living life according to what I thought I knew, learning the ropes as I went along. My goals in life were clear: to be somebody, which meant having a job in an executive position, earning good money, traveling, finding a partner to live with me, and being happy. In short, I was looking for a life without financial worries, with the recognition of my family and friends as someone who succeeds in life and is happy. I was achieving some of these goals, but in the same time, the feelings of satisfaction and of happiness seemed to be a one-off thing, rather fleeting. So life went on for me. There were changes in the country where I lived, changes in the company I worked for, but always the same thought of what mattered was living well materially. And at the same time, I still had the intuition that this was not all life was: work, trekking, travel, in a way a routine that now as an adult was certainly quite different from the childhood, but nevertheless a routine somehow limited in scope. But I thought I held the destiny of my life, of everything I could see, mostly in my hands. I gradually realized that it was not really possible to disassociate the manifestations of what was going on within me with what was happening to me. That there was something else, perhaps invisible to my eyes, but nevertheless very real. On many occasions in my life, I thought one way, but felt something else. There was at many times no unity between thinking and feeling. In my personal interactions with friends or family, there were many times in my life when I said something I didn't want to impulsively, only to realize later and regret it, or doing something that my sensibility did not approve of, but I did it anyway and then regretted later on. Recalling this journey through my life, I asked myself the following questions. Could it be that with these assets alone, I could solve all the challenges that life would present to me? Was I aware of where I was leading my life? And what is it that causes me to have attitudes or say things that I know are wrong, but yet I still do them? There were many things I didn't know yet about myself, and I had some hard experiences of people commenting how they perceived me as I was and how it looked differently from who I thought I was. Why did that happen? If I wanted to act one way, why did I act another? It is as if I was two beings, one who thinks one way and another who acts differently. It was an observation I made, but without reflecting on what it could be, if there was some cause that I could not see. As the expression learning the ropes goes, so life went on somehow, groping in the dark. Already studying logosophy, I had the opportunity to learn something that was very important to me and that I would like to share with you. Life is a mirror that reflects what the individual thinks and does, or what his own thoughts or extraneous ones make him do. This raised some questions. Is my life really a mirror that reflects what I think? Did I have the means to prove that this is really true? Who is running my thoughts? Who is running or controlling my life? If not me, who is? How many times have I set out to do as many housework as possible on a Saturday morning in order to have a quieter weekend, but kept postponing them to Sunday evening? What happened here? What prevented me from solving the Saturday morning course? I figured out that it is some procrastination thought. Don't worry, you can do it later. It's okay, you have time. And ended up in a hurry because of lack of time. But what did I know about thoughts and that they could be my own or someone else's? This knowledge of thoughts is one of the fundamental concepts of logosophy. We all have an idea of what thoughts are, but when we look at this concept, we realize that there is a broader conception, which is of the mind. The author clarifies that in the mind there are thoughts which are autonomous psychological entities with a life of their own, which may or may not move independently of our will. Therefore, thoughts, being entities, are mental beings. There are many examples from my life that I could share to clarify this concept a little. For example, changes in the mood for which I had no explanation. Why were they happening? Not getting to sleep at night because of worries, thoughts coming and going. These are some examples of thoughts doing what they wanted and not what I had decided. If thoughts are the fundamental aspect of life, then by logic, it would be necessary to make the effort to be attentive to them, to observe them as best as possible in order to select them and replace by others, to make sure that what happens in my life is in accordance with what I really want. This is not simple because as the causes are within me, the attention has to be directed inwards. The author warns that man has always looked outward. We should now start looking inward. The logosophical method is the lantern that lights up even the most obscure depths. Its application assumes the possession of the cognition which are part of it. My observation was directed outwards to what other people were doing and acting. I used to observe selfish acts in others, such as skipping the queue. What a shame. I would never do that. I'm definitely not selfish. But how can I be so sure if I'm not attentive to what is going on inwards? But what does it mean to look inwards? I understood that it was an opportunity to get to know myself better, but what should I observe? Why should I observe, and for what purpose? To observe, I need knowledge. Knowing about the existence of thoughts is key to be able to observe them if I'm attentive. I have to train myself to become a scientist who knows what to observe and to understand what is being observed. Observation is key to becoming aware of the reality of thoughts and to creating the conditions to lead my life by leading my thoughts. But what do I have to pay attention? What do I have to pay attention to? What do I have to be aware of? These are some questions that I asked myself when I started looking inwards, and that also made me think about what I really want to do with my life, where I want to lead it. If life is a mirror reflecting what the individual thinks and does, and I want to be in charge of my life, what knowledge did I need in order to be able to make this determination or a life review? When I first met my mother-in-law, I noted her serenity and balance. She always seemed to me very sensible in her opinions and always welcomed me with joy. I wanted to be like that too. On the other hand, I have a relative who only contacts me when he needs something from me. If he doesn't need anything, he doesn't reach out. I don't appreciate that. What could I do to achieve the same good aspects I notice in my mother-in-law's behavior? And how could I make sure that I wouldn't act as my relative? As I did this self-review, I realized that I needed to improve my behavior to others and to myself as well, that would bring me more level-headedness, happiness, peace, and freedom. So how to direct my life in order to achieve more self-balance and happiness? What could be the tool that could lead me on the right route to be followed? The author calls for consciousness by saying, concentrate the efforts of your will on the great objective of life, which is self-elevation, self-improvement. This objective is the incentive that must activate life at every moment of your existence. The compass shown here will give me the direction, but the compass is only useful if my eyes are attentive to the direction it is pointing me in, which raises many questions. What knowledge do I need to activate my attention to the direction the compass is pointing me in? Why do I want to be better at it? What I have noticed is that the moment I make the effort to live life more intensively, to be more aware of my life, I perceive that I'm somehow connected to everything around me and that I'm responsible for creating my own destiny in life. When you are not indifferent to life, everything speaks to you. Just like in classes in school. I didn't like, for example, biology classes. I couldn't wait for the moment to be over. But I loved physics. I enjoyed every minute of it. Who hasn't had this kind of experience? I'm now enjoying the greatest lesson that life is. With this understanding, it became clear to me that everything I observe in myself can always be improved, perfected in the sense of building values that allow me to be happier and perform better in every aspect of my life, be it in family life, at work, with friends, and mainly with myself. This generates stimulus and great enthusiasm because I realize the benefits and how I'm changing gradually as I'm practicing this superior knowledge that I didn't have before and that I'm learning with the logosophical wisdom, therefore becoming the compass of my life. If I have a compass to keep me on track, what is the most important thing to keep under my control? What are the aspects that I need to keep my eyes on? What do I do with what I observe throughout my life? I would like to share something that has helped me a lot to reflect and answer these questions. If we are living, then it must be for a purpose. And if we want to live, then it must also be for a purpose. And what is the meaning of this desire to live? It means that what we will live in the future must be of great value to us, since we want to live it. Is it not so? There are very special things that I have experienced that teach me a lot and that are like gemstones. What would these gemstones be? There are values such as patience, respect, humility, discretion, prudence, etc. Have you already thought about what gemstones you have? For example, my spouse. The gratitude for her being part of my life and also for me being part of her life. I remember someone close to me saying once, human relationships are like a jar full of values and noble feelings. These precious stones or gemstones, aspects like misunderstandings, lack of tolerance, and of patience are what takes these gemstones out of the jar. There will come a day when this jar will be empty and the relationship will end. The issue is not the last gemstone in the jar, but rather allowing the first one to go. The first gemstone I allow to go must be restored so that the jar is always full. But how many times or how many have I left fall by the wayside, not reminding myself the reason and the value of the relationship with my spouse? I would like to carry these gemstones always with me. For example, gratitude, patience, tolerance, respect. Every gemstone in my life starts being there because I made the choice. It has its reason for being. Therefore, nothing more sensible than if I chose the gemstone that I want to possess, that I want to cultivate, it is because I wanted it as a result of acknowledging its value for my life. If I start to lead my life on this path, I will live it more intensely, with much more inner activity, me with myself, observing and acting on thoughts, and of course, This is connected with a bigger thought. What do I want to remember in the future, say tomorrow, next week, or in 10 years? One day, I heard a question during an interview with a gentleman that really struck me. He expressed his concern about what he should do in the next 20 years that would be worth remembering afterwards. This touched me deeply because I thought, what can I say about myself if I can't remember many relevant and important moments of my life, let alone of what happened inside me? Why do I forget? Is it important that I don't forget? Relating to the gemstones shown, to what extent can the past help me shaping the future that I want to live? The author of Logosophy opens my eyes by clarifying what this help, so to speak, consists of. And so one's past must become the constant future that one lives, and in being so, will cease to be the past, since by retaining it in the present, one's future and past will always be rotating around the individual himself, whose center will constitute his present. Sounds difficult. If I want my future to become my past, therefore, what I'm planning for my life to materialize in achievements, in knowledge, or in values, I have to realize this in my present. What I do in my present will allow what I'm planning for my life to become part of life, making it part of my past. To plan what I want in my life, I have to know my past, to know what I bring to the table, so to speak. Knowing the causes, knowing what goes inside me that was reflected in my life in order to understand why and how I achieved my goals and also why I failed. Some as a consequence of the choices I had made to ensure that the future is not a reflection of attitudes that are not what I'm planning today. Reassessing the past and knowing the causes of what I'm experiencing today is connecting the past with the future to ensure that I use everything in me to its full potential, and it is a great opportunity to learn from mistakes. Understanding in this way makes the past the basis for the future. What might once have looked like a collection of gemstones starts to look like a necklace of gemstones. And I think how nice it would be if more people would do conscious effort to make their necklace of gemstones in their life. Would the world not become a better place? With this necklace of gemstones, I'm recognizing that everything in life has consequences. I am giving value to my life, to this life worth remembering, but not only to remember it myself, but also to leave a mark on the people around me. Wouldn't this be a way to contribute to humanity? If thoughts are a reflection of what my life is, and if everyone had this kind of thoughts, not only on an individual level, it would change the world, wouldn't it? I would like to close with this teaching. The fact of living, of feeling human being is not therefore a simple question. Having understood this, he has two alternatives: negating his own self by negating the truth that he can connect to his conscience, letting his life drag on as if it had no value, or behave consciously, allowing it to flourish into splendid accomplishment. What I did today was to present some of the many concepts that logosophy has been allowing me to know myself, to move forward in this investigation of my own life and making this connection with the central part, which is the main purpose of what I want, to become a better human being by starting to answer the initial question, what is life? When we come into contact with logosophy, we see that there are many key concepts. Such as thoughts that we talked about today. The human being as a biopsychic spiritual being, mind and intelligence, universal laws, sensibility and feelings, creator and creation, process of conscious evolution, which represents a change in the approach we take to the way we live our lives. It is certainly not possible to present all these key concepts in just one talk. Therefore, I invite you all to get to know this science directly from the source. The Logosophical Foundation offers various activities, including information course, for those who are interested in learning more about logosophy, how it is studied, and its methodology. I hope this talk brought you interesting things to think about. If what we have been talking about makes you feel something different inside of you, it may be because there is a part of you that wants to know more about all of this subject. You can know more about logosophy at the website as shown. And as I said, you can also request for a free of charge course where you can start to study and apply it to your own life. The QR code will link it to the form to request the free course. You can also find videos on YouTube with talks where other students of logosophy, just like us, share their experience. That's it. Thank you very much for being here and have a good night. Bye.